focus will be adequate housing for all and the adoption of the UN Habitat Strategic Plan for the period 2026 to 2029 to be held at the United Nations Complex in Gigiri, Nairobi from Thursday the 29th of May to Friday the 30th of May 2025. Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development, Honorable Alice Wahome, accompanied by the Principal Secretary of the State Department for Housing and Urban Development, Charles Henga, and the Executive Director of UN Habitat, Ms. Anna Claudia Rosbach, will grace the Assembly. Join global leaders, policymakers, and urban development experts as we advance inclusive dialogue and collective action toward a sustainable urban future for all.
Je, umewahi kuwa na deni ya KRA? Basi usiwe na shaka. KRA wakishirikiana na KBC wamekuandalia roadshow murwa kabisa. Jiunge nasi tukufahamishe kuhusu KRA Tax Amnesty Program na jinsi utakavyoweza kusamehewa adhabu na riba na KRA. Pia tutakuwa tunakusaidia kujaza fomu za kodi za mwaka 2024 na kukusaidia na huduma za KRA kwa mtaa wako. Alhamisi tarehe 29 mwezi Mei tutakuwa maeneo ya Homa Bay. Tutazuru Oyugis, Rangwe Road, Ndhiwa, Sori, Kendu Bay, Homa Bay Town na Mbita. KRA, tulipe ushuru, tujitege.
Now, police investigations revealed that the alleged abduction of Juja MP George Koimburi was actually stage-managed. And this is according to DCI boss Amin Mohammed and the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja. We've got a detailed report of this particular story, including plenty more of what is shaping the news tonight in business and sports, and also a discussion on Kenya's milestones in achieving the digital transformation agenda. This is Prime Edition. Top on this live broadcast.
Our neighbors from Tanzania, if we have wronged you in any way, forgive us. Our friends from Uganda, if there is anything that Kenyans have done that's not right, we want to apologize.
Forgive me if I have wronged you. President Ruto's words to Tanzania and the young people of Kenya during the annual National Prayer Breakfast. Juja MP George Koimburi stage-managed his abduction for political mileage, claimed the Police Inspector General and the DCI. Kidney transplant patients to pay a subsidized 700,000 shillings at the Aga Khan University Hospital following a pact between the hospital and SHA. And African countries challenged to have a unified response to security threats as Kenya hosts the annual African Chiefs of Defense Forces Conference. Welcome to Prime Edition. I'm Doreen. Arange Lusimora is our sign language interpreter. And our calls for reconciliation and forgiveness dominated the annual National Prayer Breakfast in Nairobi, with President William Ruto apologizing to Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya if he had wronged them. The apology came in the wake of a summon by guest preacher Ricky Ellen Bolden, who challenged the government to apologize to the young people, adding their call for good governance ought to be respected. Ruto's apology to neighboring Uganda and Kenya comes against a backdrop of a social media tiff among citizens in the East African community, triggered by the deportation of Kenyan activists from Tanzania.
So we praise you and we lift you, God, and we welcome you, Lord.
Wednesday morning in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. Members of Parliament, top government officials, and foreign diplomats gathered for the 22nd annual National Prayer Breakfast meeting under the theme Rise and Rebuild. The day's sermon was delivered by guest preacher and American motivational speaker Ricky Allen Bolden.
When we're talking about relationships and we're talking about really rebuilding relationships, wouldn't it be beautiful if leaders would stand up and say to our Gen Zs, we had you arrested, and we know that had to be traumatizing, and we're sorry.
It was a sermon that focused on reconciliation and rebuilding relationships, with Bolden challenging leaders to listen to the concerns by young people calling for better governance.
Gen Zers are crying for. They're crying for the right to be adults because they are. They've gone to college. They've buying their own house. They're getting married. They're adults.
Perhaps taking cue from the day's sermon, President William Ruto asked for forgiveness from the Kenyan youth.
To our children, if there is any misstep, we apologize. To our neighbors,
he would further extend an apology to the neighboring East African countries of Uganda and Tanzania.
Our neighbors from Tanzania, if we have wronged you in any way, forgive us. Our friends from Uganda, if there is anything that Kenyans have done that's not right, we want to apologize if there is anything.
The apology seemingly aimed at quelling a diplomatic showdown following an online spat with the East African region following the deportation of Kenyan activists from Tanzania. Annual National Prayer Breakfast has once again served as a mirror and a compass for the nation. And as the country navigates turbulent times, leaders have been reminded of the power of humility, unity, and a shared vision for the future. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition, Nairobi.
Thank you, Menza, for that. And now to the recent developments in respect to the Juja MP and the Inspector General of Police, Douglas Kanja, and DCI boss Amin Mohammed have said police investigations conducted so far show that Juja Member of Parliament George Koimburi stage-managed his abduction through proxies for political mileage. They further claimed the lawmaker tore his clothes to fake evidence of torture. Meanwhile, Security Committee of the National Assembly informed the House that they were denied access to the hospital ward at the Karen Hospital, where the lawmaker is admitted, thus making it impossible to assess his medical condition. Giverson Maina tells us more.
The alleged abduction of Juja MP George Koimburi continues to take a turn of twists as the National Police Service now say the interrogation of arrested suspects established inconsistent gaps disabusing the abduction.
It is quite inconceivable for a honorable member of Parliament to go to that extent of state managing his own abduction, creating a lot of tension and fear in the country.
Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja and DCI boss Amin Mohammed further claimed there is a mismatch in the Koimburi's movement from the point of alleged abduction to the last moment at the Jacaranda coffee plantation in Juja.
We were able to account for all his movements from the time he attended the church up to where he slept that night. We have even identified the hotel and the room number that he slept.
While addressing the press at the DCI headquarters, the duo further said the Subaru Forester involved belongs to an ally of the lawmaker who has since been arrested for interrogation.
One suspect, Karaja Gatana, has been arrested. Gatana admitted to dropping the MP at a hotel where he had refreshments and spent the night with two abductors on 25th May 2025 following the alleged abduction.
The National Police say the preliminary investigations point to a stage-managed abduction.
We have not yet been able to see the honorable member of parliament. We have not gotten that access. So once we get that access, then we'll visit him.
This as the Security Committee of the National Assembly claimed they were denied entry into the current hospital ward where Koimburi is admitted.
We requested to speak to the doctor in charge, hoping to at least obtain a medical update. Unfortunately, this effort did not bear fruit either, as we were told the doctor was unavailable at the time. We were then introduced to a senior nurse who was on duty and managing the patient care in the ward. The nurse politely informed us that it will not be possible to see honorable member during our visit due to a medical advice and privacy consideration.
However, Speaker Moses Wetangula directed the committee to work with the police for a conclusive investigation into the matter.
Damage which was caused to him is clearly not only physical but also emotional.
And I wish you would be allowed to go and view Mheshimiwa in the hospital, so that then you don't need to get an answer from us lawyers about the status of Mheshimiwa Koimburi rather than your own eyes.
Give us Minor Prime Edition.
To some health matters now, and the Cabinet Secretary, the Aden Duale, has threatened to expose medical facilities previously contracted under the former NHIF that are implicated in fraudulent activities. Speaking during the launch of a collaboration between the Ministry of Health and Aga Khan University Hospital to advance equitable access to specialized care for kidney patients, the CS has also warned that the ministry will not relent in its quest to rid the country of unqualified medical practitioners.
Patients seeking kidney transplant surgeries in the country will now access treatment at a subsidized cost of 700,000 shillings offered at the Aga Khan University Hospital in Nairobi. This follows the signing of a partnership between the hospital and Social Health Authority, paving the way for eligible Kenyans to access advanced medical procedures, specifically kidney transplant and heart surgeries.
Under this partnership, subsidized kidney transplant surgeries will be provided to patients who meet clinical eligibility criteria and demonstrate financial need.
We will continue to advance the agenda of universal health coverage, by which we will not only provide good quality health care to the population, but we also will increasingly try to work with the public sector institutions to build their capacity as well.
Speaking during the signing of the partnership, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale confirmed that it will make advanced medical care accessible to all Kenyans without the need to travel abroad.
Through this partnership, we reaffirm our commitment to ensuring that no Kenyan is denied life-saving treatment due to financial constraint.
Meanwhile, the CS warned of a major purge targeting over 1,000 medical facilities suspected to have been involved in fraudulent activities while operating under the defunct National Health Insurance Fund. Duale also emphasized the ministry's resolve to crack down on unqualified medical practitioners, urging all players in the health sector to operate within the law.
I am compiling a list, and I will share with the country, of thousands of health facilities in our country that were involved in the former defunct NHIF in terms of fraud. The regulator is here. We have closed a number of them. We have downgraded a number of them. And we will share with the country in maybe this week or next week. Never again will Kenyans be treated by quacks. Never again will Kenyans go to a facility that does not look like a health facility.
Joseph Wahungu for Prime Edition.
The national chairperson of the Gender-Based Violence Technical Working Group, Dr. Nancy Baraza, has sounded the alarm, warning of an epidemic of unspoken abuse and cultural silence. Speaking at the final public engagement forum in Nairobi, Dr. Nancy Baraza said across counties, the team collected testimonies of various forms of abuse. Children as young as 3 years old have been sexually violated, with some of their perpetrators being their family members. Women are the major victims of abuse, with most cases remaining unreported. Ben Chumba tells us more.
After months traversing the country, the GBV Technical Working Group has concluded the national engagement, which exposed a disturbing truth. Gender-based violence in the country is far more widespread than is ever reported.
We have many cases of child defilement almost across the country. Sodomy of boys as young as 3 years, as young as 4 years, and this is happening in the so-called safe space of the home. We have had horrific cases from around the country, cases of incest happening to helpless children, to helpless women.
From Kibra to Kisumu, Dr. Nancy Baraza and our team collected first-hand accounts of sexual violence, child defilement, and silent suffering of victims.
We are not bothered. We don't even report. Even your neighbor, your immediate neighbor, undergoing domestic abuse, we don't take it as something that we can report. And of course, that kind of abuse is the one which now ends up in femicide. So we have very many questions to ask ourselves as Kenyans. As our social structure is falling apart, do we have any role to play?
The team collected testimonies buried beneath culture, fear of stigma, and institutional failure.
When issues of gender-based violence or domestic violence is reported to the police, we have heard that they are not taken seriously. But that needs a complete change of our mindset.
According to findings, up to 60% of femicide cases happen inside the victims' homes. The team's report also uncovered disturbing trends. Despite laws banning female genital mutilation, perpetrators have morphed, with trained medical doctors performing the illegal cut on young girls.
It came out very strongly in Kisii, in Nyamira, in Migori. Now the medical doctors are the ones who are perpetrating the GBV against little children.
As the public forums wrap up, the working group now retreats to compile what could be one of the most consequential reports on gender-based violence in the country's history, with recommendations set to be forwarded to the president. Ben Chumba, Prime Edition.
The government has been challenged to inject more funds to promote sexual reproductive health in the country. Stakeholders in the health sector say the lack of sufficient knowledge on reproductive health and menstrual hygiene, especially among adolescent girls, has resulted in increased cases of school dropouts across the country. The clarion call was made during the commemoration of the International Day for Menstrual Hygiene.
Kenya joined the rest of the world on Wednesday in commemorating International Day for Menstrual Hygiene, an annual reminder of the stigma and practical barriers around the biological process. In Nairobi's Kibra area, the menstrual hygiene campaign was hosted by the Polycom girls. Here, stakeholders in the health sector called for concerted efforts to end the stigmatization of menstruation and for policy changes.
And we are trying to dismantle myths around periods so that girls can stay safe and are able to have their periods in an emotionally safe environment. And today it's a call to action for all the stakeholders, our partners and the government to continue focusing on the commitments that were made in Paris in 2021.
To request the government to take full responsibilities of supplying enough pads to our schools, because you find that most of our girls or most of the schools depend on donors, because whatever they supply, you can find that in a year maybe they are supplying pads just once in a year, which is so hard to the girls.
And in Kayole area, the annual commemoration was held at the Imela Medical Center. The highlight of the day was a raw and girl-led discussion where participants opened up about the hidden cost of menstrual stigma, from missed school days to emotional trauma.
In our project, girls missing school because of lack of pads. We have seen girls not going to school because of the not understanding the pain of the menses and the process itself. So I'll urge the county government and the women representatives of this country to see the heart and the gaps which are there when it comes to sexual reproductive health.
The ladies may feel so much inferior when we look at them and laugh. Some young men may be laughing at them when they have the periods. That's why I feel we should organize a way that we reach out to many men and even boys so that they can support this idea that the girls should not be laughed at, instead should be supported.
In Nakuru County, Dandelion Africa Program Manager Ruth Nderito flagged off a 2 kilometers procession from Mogotio town to create public awareness on menstrual hygiene.
We want the women reps who are represented to represent women, who are elected to represent women. Wapeleke mswada kwa serikali na wa lobby iweze kwenda through such that girls are supplied with sanitary towels every month.
We are telling our government and our health education partners in public health to make sure they're budgeting for menstrual hygiene products in our budget in schools, to make sure that no girl is missing school because of certain access to that basic need.
And finally, in Nandi County, more than 400 girls from the Tigitio Secondary School in Nandi constituency benefited from free sanitary towels courtesy of the Fast Track Mentors Group as a way of commemorating the day.
Tunaomba serikali sana kwamba as we celebrate this year's Menstrual Hygiene Day, please support the girls, especially those in school and especially the girls in day schools, day secondary schools, kuwapatia sanitary towels.
Wanafunzi wanapopokea sodo hizi zitawasaidia kuwa shuleni wakati wote. At least kwa huu muhula wote tuko na hakika kwamba watakuwa shule na hawatakosa kukua karibu na sisi, na masomo yao yatakuwa yameboreka.
John Kahiro for Prime Edition.
The Institution of Engineers of Kenya has submitted their concerns about development approval delays in Nairobi County before the Planning Committee of the Nairobi County Assembly. Appearing before the committee, the president of the institution, Engineer Shama Kiteme, said the delays have hindered its members from tracking the progress of their submissions, leading to uncertainty and frustration. Kiteme called on the county government to collaborate with engineers in resolving the bottlenecks that exist and pledged the institution's support in identifying and fixing gaps in the system.
We have seen our members they make submissions. Submissions take very long. We have sometimes when the approval is not given, there's no predictability on what they are supposed to do. And because we submit in other counties, we have seen some other counties where the approval is fairly straightforward, and we believe the process of submission and development approval in Nairobi County can improve. And this is our effort as Institution of Engineers of Kenya to make sure that this is addressed. And we are confident that it's a process that is going to go through and we get the pain that our members have been going through relieved. And of course, the developers who have also been facing the challenges, the challenge to be addressed.
Over 10,000 eligible taxpayers have so far applied for amnesty on penalties and interest accrued up to December 2024. The Kenya Revenue Authority had, by Tuesday this week, waived approximately 170 billion shillings in the ongoing amnesty offer to taxpayers, this even as the Tax Service Sensitization Roadshow continued in Western Kenya, having stopovers in Kisumu County. The campaign by KRA and its media partner, the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, offered free filing of tax returns in Awasi, Ahero, Rabor, Nyamasaria, Manyata, Kondele, and Kisumu City in Kisumu County. And hundreds of youth turned up at Mama Ngina Waterfront Park in Mombasa, hopeful to secure a job opportunity abroad as part of the government's Labour Export Plan. The job recruitment drive is being spearheaded by the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection.
This was the situation at Mama Ngina Waterfront Park in Mombasa as youth from all 6 sub-counties gathered for a recruitment drive aimed at securing job placements in Gulf countries. The initiative, spearheaded by the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, is part of a broader strategy to reduce youth unemployment by facilitating access to international job markets.
Nimeona venye wanachukua watu, it's very good and it is faster. For me, sijapata kwa ajili sina passport.
But the excitement soon turned into frustration as several participants protested the requirement for payment of agency fees, citing it was a cost they were not prepared for.
Tunataka kujua hizi agencies zimefuata nini na kama zimekuja kutusaidia sisi, mbona tutoe pesa? Mbona kuna watu wametoka nyumbani, kuna watu wametoka nyumbani wako tayari guarantee mguu wao uko mbele.
Documents ambazo nataka ni nyingi, alafu waache ubaguzi. There is no way unatoka hapa na document unaenda the other side, ukifika na kwambia nini umechelewa, anza upya, ama nakwambia wewe kwanza imeisha, toka kwa line. Unaona vitu kama hivyo. So kama ni organization ikianza kama hivi, wakuwe tu wengi hawa watu wenye ambao wanasajili watu.
The incident sparked queries on the accessibility of the opportunities for jobless Kenyans who lack finances for screening procedures.
Ever wondered what the elderly go through when they are neglected by their kin? The film Half Open Window gives insights into these thorough experiences of an elderly man. Here now is the review of Half Open Window in our weekly segment, Cinemas and Theatre, with our very own Jacqueline Masharia.
I'm scared, Martha. Akili yangu imekuwa kama mchanga.
Half Open Window follows a retired photographer who, after being diagnosed with dementia, his newly found bond with his unemployed graduate grandchild is threatened. This is after his children decide to enroll him in an old folks' home, Jumba la Wazee.
Option 2. You go to a country and find the title deed.
People should have decency towards like the aging community, the aging, like the old people. We just need to see them as people, and we need to care for them and make sure that they are not just healthy, but they're also happy and they feel fulfilled and they feel welcomed and they feel loved in the society and they don't feel neglected.
Directed by Omar Hamza and produced by Margaret Washera, the film Half Open Window was differently casted, with the normal calls for auditions not part of the casting process. The production was a success, despite shooting in a cold location.
Normal times we call for auditions and we tell people to send in auditions, but for this one it was it needed a lot of, I don't know, to be a bit keen on who it is we were casting.
The main character, Edwin Nyudo, is a very old person. So working with a very old veteran in the industry and a very old actor was interesting to say the least. He's the oldest person I've ever worked with, and again, a very huge learning experience, a very huge moment for growth, both for me and hopefully for him as well.
It has been slipping away. Soon, hakutakuwa na kitu chochote.
I think it's an interesting time to be an African filmmaker.
because there's a lot of change, there's a lot of opportunities, and for those who are ready, change is coming, and good change, yeah.
What the mind can't remember, the heart never forgets. Jacqueline Masharia for Cinemas and Theatre.
Time for a break now. We come back with plenty more, including that discussions on the Kenya's milestones in respect to the digital transformation agenda. That and plenty more after this breather. Stay with us.
Je, umewahi kuwa na deni ya KRA? Basi, usiwe na shaka. KRA wakishirikiana na KBC wamekuandalia roadshow murwa kabisa. Jiunge nasi tukufahamishe kuhusu KRA Tax Amnesty Program na jinsi utakavyoweza kusamehewa adhabu na riba na KRA. Pia, tutakuwa tunakusaidia kujaza fomu za kodi za mwaka 2024 na kukusaidia na huduma za KRA kwa mtaa wako. Alhamisi tarehe 29 mwezi Mei, tutakuwa maeneo ya Homa Bay. Tutazuru Yugis, Rangwe Road, Ndhiwa, Sori, Kendu Bay, Homa Bay Town na Mbita. KRA, tulipe ushuru, tujitegemee.
If we don't hear from Joyce by evening, I think we should.
Najua ile kitu sitaki ni kuripoti mambo police station kwanza.
Ukitaka kutoa niona tena, try forcing him on me. If you can't stand him, what makes you think I can?
Sababu yako kuwa hapa ni nini?
Really, Dad? We're going to do this right now. When was the last time Joyce called you?
We, ni fire. Kushwa si Mama Musa. Ah, that's it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kenya.
Wake up with Good Morning Kenya, the morning show that's got it all.
We dive deep into issues shaping our country.
Youth are a voice of a nation. What is the next step for the young people?
Unpacking political landscape from Monday to Wednesday.
We discuss family matters. It is very important to guard your relationship. And for your health.
Someone doesn't wake up and they become an addict. It's in stages.
We've got you covered each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Every Wednesday, it's all about The Viewpoint.
A day in politics is like 1,000 years.
Unpacking the biggest stories of the week, getting you insights and getting you ready for your day.
And the package is not yet done. I get to fix your Thursday with some entertainment. Entertainment Thursday, it is.
Good Morning Kenya.
We shape your day.
Good Morning Kenya, every weekday morning on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. We continue to inform you. And now the government continues to affirm its commitment to achieving the digital superhighway agenda. And this is in line with the bottom-up economic transformation agenda so that the millions of Kenyans can actually have access to internet connectivity. Our very own Brian Kimani, who is in Diani, Kwale County, had this discussion with the CSICT, that is Kabogo, on just some of the milestones that we have made as a country in achieving this digital superhighway agenda. Here now is that discussion.
Well, it is day 2 of the Connected Africa Summit, which is taking place here in Diani, Kwale County, and great conversations are taking place about how to drive artificial intelligence and, of course, how to regulate an industry and ensure that people use this technology, to drive growth, to drive innovation. And that is part of the conversation that is taking place here. And guess who is joining me tonight? We are talking to the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Ministry of Information and Digital Economy. This is William Kabogo. He's going to give us his take on the ongoing conversation, of course, the state of innovation here in Kenya, and of course, the way forward. Thank you very much indeed, Waziri.
Asante.
Here. I, first of all, want to feel what is your take on the conversations taking place here and what the delegates are saying?
Thank you for having me on this occasion.
Ours is simple. It's to put Africa on the global map in terms of ICT and digital economy. You know that digital economy is the way to go. You look at places like China, you will find that 49.8% of their GDP is from the digital space.
That is almost 50%.
Yes. I think America leads with 49, and then China closely follows with 47. We have a very young and vibrant population in Africa. And that's why we find this space, Connected Africa, as one of the ways to harmonize what is happening on the digital platform in Africa, to take advantage of, the young population in Africa is below 35 is 70%. And unemployment across the board, Kenya to South Africa to Morocco, the entire continent has a huge unemployment problem. And these countries that are participating in Connected Africa have a common understanding that we need to open up this space for digital. You know that, for example, India, before the computer era came in, India had graduates, professors, and very learned people in the streets doing hawking because there were no jobs. But when they started doing business processing overseas, India quickly became a middle-class economy. You understand now that Kenyans are involved in digital trading, in digital activities to make money, especially from the hubs that I have visited that are done by Konza Technopolis. You will find good stories about how young boys and girls are making money online. And that's why, and we thank the president for his visionary leadership in terms of how we need to develop a hub in every ward in Kenya. That's 1,450 of them. Yeah. From the ones that we have seen, if this is something we can achieve by 2027, 2028, it will mean that every village has a hub. That hub will develop young, skilled people who can still open their own hubs within those areas. And I am hoping that at some point in the next 2 years, there will be many small business processing centers where Kenyans connected Africa.
I mean, you're bringing in the concept of ensuring that in Africa nobody is left behind, and you're quoting numbers, a continent of more than 1.2 billion people, 70% of the population is below the age of 35. And these are the future. We're talking about the population dividend. But at the same time, when you look at, Africa, made up of 54 countries, some countries are so much behind. Others like Kenya, South Africa, Nigeria, they are so much ahead.
You need to remember, even if some are behind and Kenya is ahead, Kenya can become the point of reference to these countries. We can offer services to these countries to get them where we are. You talk about always trying not to reinvent the wheel. So why would countries need to go what we've gone through to get where we are? They could pick from us, plug and play. So one may look at Kenya as disadvantaged because of linking together with countries that are way below. But remember that the market in Africa is huge, not like the market in India. This is the next space that anybody would want to. All the people outside Africa are looking at Africa. If we manage to bring this space to almost optimum across the continent, this will be the market for almost every other place.
When you
understand that you look at India, population.
It's 1.4.
You look at Africa.
It's 1.25.
So there we are. Very huge, but it not coordinated, not organized. You will not look at the market as 1.2 because of the scarcity of connectivity, digital skills, all these things. But if every country thrives to make sure it's almost 80% connected, then you have 80% of 1.2 to solve.
Is there any way that we can start looking at Africa as one country? And when we are thinking
you know what we have done here, Africa is divided into sub-regions. The French-speaking side, the north, yes,
the western part of
us that are the Anglophones, you call, and then the southern bloc. So we have talked and agreed that countries that are in those regions need to go and start talking to each other, so that the issues we are sharing in Connected Africa, every region can report on a monthly, by month, putting in a secretariat that we have put together, so that we can pull information together and people can pick. Even the private sector, we are welcoming them, those that are in this ICT digital space, that offer services in Africa, to pick from countries when they put their problem statements in our pool. And we have decided we don't have to wait for the next Connected Africa. We had Connected Africa 2024 that had Nairobi Declaration on certain things that were supposed to happen. But we are coming to report here, every country, what it has achieved in 1 year. So we are saying, let us keep talking online through the Secretariat so that we can pick knowledge from those that have done something. Those haven't done, they need to pick from there. The potential private sector that serves this industry should also be able to pick what countries need what services. And if we are doing this, even the number of countries that will participate in the next Connected Africa will be very high, because they will see value in why they come to Nairobi or why they come to Kenya for Connected Africa.
You're talking about the Nairobi Declaration, which was a product that came out of the Connected Africa Summit 2024. And there were 7 issues that were supposed to, that countries agreed that they are going to fast track. When they come here to Diani to report on progress, are you impressed with what's happening in their countries?
The progress is not as impressive as I would have imagined. But again, we have kept to our own 54 countries and dealt with Nairobi Declaration as an individual country. But there was no forum of follow-up. What country is lagging behind in any of the 7 and for what reasons. It is now that we have improved to make this secretariat and to make a platform where information for read only will be available. And we should be able to have every country a representative in that secretariat so that we can continue talking to each other on how we can bring Africa to the world map in terms of connectivity. But we share generally the same problems of digital divide. Rural Africa is not connected. Some countries, even at the level of mobile transfer, money transfers, they do not have. Those are the things we are saying Safaricom, if it's in this pool, should be able to go to those areas. But you understand, some of these companies do not want to be involved in places where there are no people to serve. For example, you see in Kenya, we have areas that, investing in connectivity is a huge investment in terms, yes, in terms of mobile connectivity.
Yeah.
So you will find Safaricom, Airtel, they don't want to go to a particular place because really they are no users.
It's not commercially viable.
Yes, but what we've done as government, we have been able to talk to them, and whoever needs the least government input, we enter into contracts with them to give services to those places. That's why you find Kenya, mobile-wise, we're almost 100% connected.
And when you look at the progress that countries are reporting, I mean, which aspects are most of them struggling with?
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure.
Yes, and how expensive it is. You know that we have the KDEP project that is funded by World Bank. If you find the cost of 1 kilometer of fiber, not many countries will manage. Even ourselves, we are talking about putting 100,000 kilometers. We are at 50,000. Yes, and the cost of that infrastructure is so huge that not many countries will be able to do that. Of course, now we are pushing this with PPP approach so that people can come and invest in this space. But Kenya is way ahead in terms of wide coverage and connectivity. But we are hoping that even these other countries can go to the model of finding partners who will fund, because countries cannot fund themselves. Kenya has got about 9 undersea cables. So Kenya has internet. It's just about taking it to the people. And that's why we now have gone 1 mile more to involve Kenya Power for laying of the fiber optic cable, because it is faster.
You talk about ensuring that the young people, who are the majority in our population, they are equipped, and that's why the government came up with the digital village concept. Yes. And I remember there was even a time when our government was opening up public Wi-Fi for young people to do business in that space.
We need 25,000
Wi-Fi public hotspots.
Public, yes, hotspots.
How many are we? How many?
We're at 3,000 something right now.
3,000
that are working. We have many that are not working because the project, the way it was designed, left out the sustainability part of it. How will you sustain that? You've invested 80,000 shillings, it's working, and who makes sure that it's lit? Who makes sure that no cables are cut? Who mans it? That gap was left so that in a way people assumed once you light it and it's working, that's it. We now know that we need to design a program of how they will be sustained. And my proposal, which we are trying now, we're testing, is in the market where the public Wi-Fi is, there are young men and women who work there. So you need to find who has interest in manning that hotspot. And the way to do it is to commercialize to a level where that person who agrees to do it will sign a contract with us that this is in your hands, you run it, you charge 5 shillings. If you have 20, 30 people paying 5 shillings, then that young man or woman has a job. And we will be able to monitor it right from ICTA, that Wi-Fi is working. But even now, if we monitor today, it's not working. We don't have a formula of getting it to work unless we send. We can't employ 25,000 people to man 25,000 hotspots.
You see, when the government
but
was
each
coming up
and every one of them, if it has a person to run, then you know that's where his daily bread or her daily bread will come from. So when it doesn't work, they know who to call. They know who to go online and talk to. So it's a self-sustaining project. That is our plan now, as we continue to open them.
When the government was coming up with this plan, it was aimed at enabling young people, the mama boga, the border riders, to have access to internet so that they can trade, they can do commerce.
Also have access to government services.
Precisely.
Yes, to look at every hub as a huduma.
But
you understand.
But they're using it now for
watching football, watching movies, downloading stuff, sending memes. Is there any way we can retweak it to ensure that it is used for the purpose that it was
if you put them, number one, if they're using it for gaming and for doing those things, you have achieved one thing, to get them on the platform. But for you to sustain gaming and doing these other things, you need to be liquid. You need to have a status. We want to be placed on the global map, that our Kenyan children can be at the same level with the Chinese children. You'll be amazed how the Kenyan communities are able to adjust quickly.
Tell us about the progress, the government's progress in terms of digitization and digitalization. I know it is one of the planks of the current administration. Where are we?
Well, we on the 100,000 kilometers that we want to do is moving, but not at the pace that the president would want. So,
what are the challenges?
Some of the challenges we have is the workload and the workforce that we have. For example, the last mile issue is given to Kenya Power. Kenya Power has put in 300 contractors. We have now been pushed so hard that they should be able to get 900 contractors on board. Cut short on the time of importation of equipment, lighting equipment. Of course, a little bit of bureaucracy is an issue, but at the pace now we are going with the push that the president is putting on this project, we should be getting there. Our targets, of course, are based on available resources. On phase one of the KDE project, which is funding connectivity, we should be there on target by the end of August. But still, we are still looking for more partners and more support, because as we say, it's an expensive exercise, but slowly but surely we're getting there. Mm-hmm. Yes.
In the other aspect of digitization and
is skilling, which we are doing through all the centers of excellence, one per constituency, which are really 70% almost there. We also have now the constituency CDF funded digital hubs, because they changed. The president managed to get Parliament to amend the law such that CDF can be used for construction of these hubs. Then we equip and light. So you can imagine every other MP is pushing to make sure that all these digital hubs are built, one in every ward. So if CDF was to properly, and I've seen the will and the push the MPs are doing to make sure that these hubs are built, then in another 2 years we should have one in every ward working. So really, Kenya will be at that level where it is fully connected by the year 2028.
Yesterday there was a report that on average Kenyans are spending about 4 hours 18 minutes on social media. The global average is about 2 minutes. It's about 2 hours and 13 seconds. But when you look at what Kenyans are doing, it's just...
We're almost number one in the world in terms of socializing.
Precisely.
Data in Kenya is not very expensive. And this energy young people have, because we agreed they're 75% of users, it's energy that needs to be rediverted from socializing most of the time to economy works in terms of earning. And that's why the digital scaling is important. And that's why we also need to have a conversation with our children. You've spent a whole day WhatsApping. You spend the whole day TikToking. Some of the TikToking is business. You know that I have a niece myself who is paying rent for the entire family in an upper market apartment on TikToking and those dances they do. So part of them are businesses, but we also need to have the conversation of how do you improve your life. You cannot improve your life by WhatsApping, by social media activities that are not revenue or income generating. And this is a conversation that we as parents should have with our children. Sometimes you get to understand that those that are endowed with a little bit of resources avail everything to their children. What do you call those PlayStation games, all those things. Others find it very difficult to get those things. But today, if you have a smartphone, and you know Kenya, we are now manufacturing smartphones here. We have, I think last year, produced the first 1 million in one company. Another one has come up, is targeting 3 million. If you can manage to get smartphones generally to the entire population, especially the 75%, and they understand that you can spend an hour or two online to make money and socialize 2 hours, will have cut down the wastage of 4.5 hours to 2. But to completely remove the young from social media, the games are there. There are actually now cities in the world that just do gaming.
What is your take on what is happening between Kenyans on social media and Tanzanian legislators?
It's bound to happen. You understand that the world is connected. You do one little thing in one corner of the world, youngsters will pick it up. Legislators are fighting Kenyans who are going there to try and do activism there. It's a healthy conversation. It's a conversation whose time has come. So watch what you say, watch what you do.
And you have also been a victim of this.
I enjoyed it very much. I woke up the next day and said, where are these memes? you know what has happened to them. Because I don't mind freedom of expression. I love the energy. I love what it is that every other Kenyan is doing on this space. Pamoja tujenge taifa.
Thank you very much, Waziri.
Asante.
We've been talking to the Cabinet Secretary in charge of, I know you're in a hurry, so come out with that, in charge of information, communication and digital economy, William Kabogo, of course giving us a highlight of what the ministry is doing to ensure that Kenya retains its position as a leader in this sector. O'Brien Kimani is my name. Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, we are coming to you from Diani, the venue of the Connected Africa Summit 2025. Back to you in Broadcasting House.
Not all toothpastes are made equal. The new Colgate Total is engineered to be 3 times more effective at fighting a key root cause of many preventable issues. With its new active prevention system, 100% of people had a healthier mouth. New Colgate Total Active Prevention helps stop problems before they start.
Many workers access their retirement benefits when switching jobs, unaware of the impact it has on their future. Taking out your retirement savings too soon reduces the income you will have when you retire, leaving your future less secure. Have you thought about the lifestyle or income you want to retire with? The earlier you start saving, the better. And the more you save, the more secure your future will be. Increase your savings today and live your golden years the way you've always dreamed. For more information, visit our website www.rba.go.ke, call our toll-free line 0800-720-300 or email info@rba.go.ke. Secure your future. Secure your peace of mind. RBA, safeguarding your retirement benefits.
Pamela. Where's Pamela?
Morning, Grandma. Morning, Grandpa.
No. Take your tea.
Who texts you in the morning?
Hey.
Why are you not in school?
I cannot go to school with trauma.
Unbelievable.
Umepatikanaje huko? Si nimefikiria nitakutadana hapa.
Time ulikuwa unafaa kunisaidia, ulinipeana nikauawe.
Imagine hiyo haikuwa plan yangu.
Care to explain?
Words have ears.
Acha nikwambie. I will fight my tooth to the bone. No.
What brings you here?
We used to work with your dad.
Welcome back. This is Prime Edition. We continue to inform you. Time for your business news. But before we do that, it's a good place for me to inform you. The latest news just reaching our desk right now is that celebrated author, writer, Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o is dead. And this was revealed through a message on his daughter's Facebook account, that is Wanjiru wa Ngugi, who posted that particular message. And also, according to Wanjiru, she says that the family spokesperson, that is Ndushu wa Ngugi, will announce the details of the celebration of the life that Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o lived. Professor Ngugi was a celebrated author and writer. To some business news. The Institution of Engineers of Kenya is sounding alarm over substandard cement in the market, saying the quality of commodity has deteriorated. Despite some of the brands having Kenya Bureau of Standard mark of quality, IEK is now calling for regular and rigorous auditing of cement manufacturers to combat the proliferation of substandard cement in the country.
In recent years, Kenya has experienced a construction boom fueled by rapid urbanization, infrastructure development, and increased investments in real estate. This demand has spurred the growth of the cement industry, with both local and foreign players entering the market. However, this expansion has also opened the door for the production and distribution of substandard cement. Engineers have flagged 25% reduction in strength of concrete, prepared from several brands, as well as widespread sale of underweight cement, especially in hardware stores and retail outlets. They are calling for regulatory bodies such as the Kenya Bureau of Standards to streamline the enforcement of quality standards. Relevant authorities have also been urged to impose heavy fines and possible criminal prosecution for repeat violation and non-compliant stores. The Institute of Engineers of Kenya says this will prohibit manufacturers from providing misleading product information and unfair trade practices, including underweight packaging. Ndutamo Kami for Prime Edition.
Electricity costs are set to drop by 20% per kilowatt hour as KenGen increases hydropower dispatch to the national grid in the coming weeks, thanks to stable hydropower supply from Masinga Dam, which has recorded water levels above capacity. Residents living downstream of the Seven Forks Hydro Cascade, particularly in Garissa and Tana River counties, are being urged to move to higher ground immediately following spillover at Kiambere Dam.
Consumers will continue enjoying the benefits of cheaper hydroelectric power following steady hydropower generation, even as heavy rains continue to pound in most parts of the country. Energy Principal Secretary Dr. Alex Washira says power will cost less in the coming weeks after Masinga Dam surpassed its full capacity by 27 centimeters, currently holding at 1,056.97 meters above sea level.
The tariff that you're going to pay this month's power bill is already a little bit lower by about 20 cents. And we expect that momentum to continue because we are pushing more hydros into power from the hydros than any other.
The dam, which is part of the Seven Forks Cascade, is critical to Kenya's energy supply, anchoring 5 interlinked hydro stations that power a large portion of the economy.
These dams, along with Tana Power Station upstream, which generates an additional 26 megawatts,
play a critical role in supplying clean, renewable electricity to the nation.
The Ministry of Energy is also sounding the alarm over potential flooding in low-lying areas as Kiambere Dam continues to spill, noting that KenGen real-time monitoring has flagged the likelihood of sustained spillover due to heavy rains.
Yesterday, Kiambere Dam experienced natural overflow. So Kiambere, which is the last dam on the cascade, started spilling yesterday in the morning.
Even as the water spills down and goes all the way to the Indian Ocean, you are not affected. As a matter of fact, it takes about 3 days for the river for the water to get to Garissa. So by tomorrow evening.
Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.
There is need for a mindset shift among young learners to view agriculture not as a chore, but as a path to economic empowerment and food security. Smash Foundation CEO Charlene Ruto noted that instilling a positive attitude towards farming from an early age is critical to building a generation that embraces innovation in food production.
Agriculture in Kenya has struggled to capture the imagination of young people, and despite being the backbone of the country's economy, farming is often viewed by the younger generation as a symbol of hardship and last resort. As part of efforts to challenge the long-held perception of agriculture, Nyanjenga Primary School in Limuru has introduced a 4K club to nurture a new generation of learners to view farming as a valuable and empowering pursuit.
We've helped them set up the model farm in partnership with Elgon Kenya, and we've been able to grow vegetables as we grow their young minds. So we've also had innovative technologies that they themselves have understood and explained to us today.
We started working with Ministry of Agriculture, and now between Elgon Kenya and Ministry of Agriculture is about 1,600 schools who have 4K clubs. And the idea is to just make sure that our youngsters understand not only the planting in agriculture, but also how to make money from it.
This project is making the young minds in the school more knowledgeable as far as farming is concerned. They have embraced it and they are continuing with it, and they are enjoying it.
To complement these efforts, and with support from Smash Foundation and Elgon Kenya's Dr. Bimal Kantaria, the school has unveiled a modern dining hall. Already, proceeds from the sale of vegetables grown by the 4K Club have enabled the school to provide free meals to pupils.
We realize that this school can massively improve with a little bit of investment. So we've done the refurbishment today, which Madam Charlene has opened today. We've opened a new refurbished classroom, kitchen, dining room. We've done a little bit of work. But more importantly is we've opened this 4K club.
So our role is to keep championing for young people to get involved in agriculture and have a different mindset towards agriculture. That's why we are starting in the primary school level.
To bring that impact where they'll be. Going to the university saying I'm going to do agriculture because I've seen from my primary school that I can get money from this, I can drive big cars from this. And also for the partners so that we can able to scale and reach more people.
Parents and local community have lauded the initiative, saying it sets a new benchmark for rural schools and called for replication of the model in other learning institutions. Trevor Ngendo for Prime Edition.
CHP Talek Health Center in Masai Mara has received a facelift following the delivery and commissioning of a 15-kilowatt solar power system. The system, delivered in partnership between Davis and Shutleaf, Huawei, the Ma Trust and Saruni Base Cup Foundation, replaces the center's dependence on diesel generator, which had drained more than 300,000 Kenyan shillings monthly in fuel costs and forced frequent service disruptions. The upgrade now powers medical equipment, refrigeration, lighting, and other essential infrastructure, ensuring uninterrupted services even during emergencies. Staff describe it as a turning point for both patient safety and the center's financial sustainability.
This project is offering affordable and uninterrupted power, which is basically coming from the sun. So in other words, these people have been using generator So as much as it's been expensive, it's also polluting the environment. Now, once you bring in solar, you're having not only reliable power, but you're having a clean source of power.
It is obviously renewable energy. It is sustainable. It does not pollute the environment like a diesel generator would. So we see nothing but benefits in utilizing the abundant sunshine that we have here in Kenya to improve power to critical infrastructure like this health facility.
The government is now changing tact in dealing with illegal fishing in Lake Victoria by collecting illegal fishing gear from the fishermen and replacing them with the approved gear. Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs Hassan Joho says the government will partner with the various beach management units along the shores of Lake Victoria to sensitize the fisherfolk on sustainable fishing practices. Weekly for Catch reports.
CS Joho was in Homa Bay County Wednesday, overseeing the distribution of assorted fishing gear to various beach management units across the Lakeside County, which is set to host this year's Madaraka Day celebrations under the theme Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs.
Nimekuja hapa niambie watu na county commissioner yuko hapa. Coordinate the people. Our responsibility is to help them. You know, someone may take it for granted. That tunaona mvuvi ameenda hapo. Huyu mvuvi anasomesha watoto huyu. Analisha familia yake huyu. Anaangalia afya ya watu wake huyu. So it is the responsibility of the government to help them. That is why we are deliberate on the plans we have for the Lake region.
Joho says the move is part of a broad, deliberate scheme to phase out illegal fishing gear through sensitization and civic education.
Our responsibility primarily is to help our people. Sindio? Ndio mimi nataka niseme mimi ndo nasimamia hii bahari. Na niwaambie mtu yoyote, Coast Guard, nani, polisi, mtu ya fisheries, msichukue tu watu wa kama wanatumia neti mbaya, muwashike, afadhali muniambie tuwatafutie neti nzuri.
You understand the challenges that our people face. Kwa hivyo wakati neti inachukuliwa kwa mvuvi, labda anabaki bila chochote. Ile neti mbaya inachomwa.
The fisherfolk decried dwindling fish stocks in Lake Victoria, even as they call upon the government agencies enforcing fisheries laws to tighten loose ends.
So as beach management units, we are authorized officers. We carry out enforcement together with other officers, just to help them understand that what they are doing is wrong.
The Blue Economy themed Madaraka Day celebrations in Homa Bay is curtain raised by a series of activities, including panel discussions aimed at building the capacity of the fisherfolk for sustainable sector growth. For Prime Edition from Homa Bay County, I am Wycliffe Okich.
Want to delve on a conversation about, you know, generational patterns, generational alters.
Pia kwetu tumekwambia tumezaliwa tukiwa 6. Mimi number 5. Big number 5 wenye walikuwa mbele yangu hawako wamemaliza shule. Number 1 after kufika class 7 alitoroka actually. Akaenda Somalia kutafuta life. Yeah. Number 2 6. So unaona tunakuja kama tunarudi chini kutoka class 7. Huyu mwingine second born akadrop yake akiwa class 6. That born ndiye alijaribu sana. Akadrop akiwa class 3.
Class 3?
Yeah, class 3.
Na wazazi wako wanaleta noma nini?
After amechapa mtu huyu akaenda. Niliamkanga tu nikaketi chini nikaambia God, if at all it's your will, niendelee kukaa kwa hii marriage, wacha nijue leo. Sasa Mungu ameniambiaje? Kalenga kubwa. So that's how I left. Na ni mbio, asifikirie kuja kwa nyumba kuja pata unapaka. Ndio itakuwa tuna story nyingine mbaya. Mimi na feel something would have been done back then. Maybe kama prayers wange dig deep, hii kitu ingetuokolea kina sisi sasa. So hiyo kitu nilionanga na ni kitu yenye jumi ndio nimeidentify hiyo shida. So nisiposimama nivunje hakuna mwenye ataivunja.
Time for your sporting action, and the Kenya Lionesses squad for the Rugby Africa Women's Cup in Madagascar has been named ahead of the tournament scheduled to kick off from the 5th to 16th of June this year at the State Marquis in Antananarivo, with their head coach Dennis Mwanja also taking up another role as the KCB RFC interim head coach.
The Kenya Lionesses squad will welcome debutants Katundu Yvonne, a prop who will line up with the likes of Natasha Imali and Kalei Nolin. Doris Kimani is another new inclusion from Kenya Harlequin Queens, and she forms the back row with the new club women's coach Sheila Chajira, Naomi Amuguni and Nelly Shikombe. Northern Suburbs winger Yvette Okech has also been named in the squad alongside Freshia Awino, Diana Awino, fly half Grace Okulu and Anjeri. Fullback Sinaida Mokaya has not been left behind, and so are other stalwarts Christabel Lindo, Faith Livoi, Maureen Moritu and Stella Wafula. The team, which will be captained by Ini Rouma, assisted by Maureen Shebet, will leave for Madagascar next week on the 5th of June. They will kick off their campaign against the host on the 7th of June before they take on defending champion South Africa 3 days later and Uganda on the 15th of June. Meanwhile, the Kenya Rugby Lionesses head coach Dennis Mwanja has been appointed to take over KCB Rugby men's team as the interim head coach. Mwanja, who ensured the Lionesses wrote their names in the history books to qualify for the HSBC Division 2, will take over from Oliver Mangeni, whose contract expires at the end of June next month.
The Kenya Judo Federation is stepping up preparations for 2 major international competitions, with the national judo team eyeing strong finishes in the upcoming World Judo Championship in Hungary, as well as the Africa Judo Championships in South Africa, following impressive performances in Casablanca.
The Kenya Judo Federation is leaving nothing to chance as the team intensified training ahead of the World Championship set for 13th to 19th of June in Budapest, Hungary.
A player or a judoka, when you yourself come to judo to play, you have to prepare yourself psychologically, mentally, and physically. Because if you just come, you want just to be in the team, definitely you will have so many injuries.
Confidence is high after Kenya's standout performance in Casablanca, where the team showcased tactical prowess and resilience to win gold medals.
They have good potential and they have a sense. So already they are getting better, but they will be getting better more and more.
Now they are hoping to build on that momentum on the global stage. But the journey doesn't end in Europe. Just days after returning from Hungary, the team will head south for Africa Judo Championship, scheduled to take place from 26th to 29th of June in South Africa.
Nimejiandaa vilivyo, zoezi asubuhi morning run, niko gym, zoezi hapa Kasarani na extra pale mtaani. Nimejiandaa na hope itakuja na medal.
With months of preparations behind them and 2 major events ahead, Team Kenya is ready to take their place on the mat and the global stage. As the World Judo Championships draws near, the Kenyan team are intensifying their training, aiming to give their best and emerge victorious in Budapest. For Prime Edition Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendo.
Kenya will be represented by 14 men and women Paravolleyball players in the upcoming African Championships, which will be held in the country for the first time from the 1st to 10th of July in Kasarani Stadium. The team is already in non-residential training, with the final team set to be announced this Friday, according to the Kenya Paravolleyball Secretary General Justus Katumo.
For the first time, Kenya will be hosting the Africa Paravolleyball Championship, which will be used as a qualifier to this year's World Championship set to be held in October in the United States. Wednesday morning, a provisional squad of 24 players intensified training at the Kasarani Indoor Arena in preparation for the championship. Paravolleyball Kenya Secretary General Justus Katumo says the final squad to represent Kenya in the continental showpiece will be announced this Friday.
Tunakuja kila siku. We train from 8 to 5 or 4 up to Saturday half day. Ni kumaanisha kwamba tumekasa sana to make sure that we have the right play, the quality of players that we want for the championship that is coming in July.
The African event will see the top 2 finishers for men and women qualify for the World Championship, which will be held in October.
Wachezaji wote wako sawa, ni ile tu some small inputs from the coaches, kwa sababu kama ni basics wako nazo.
Disability is not inability. It should be a wake-up call to some of the parents who are hiding their children back at home. These children are also talented and they are gifted.
The national Paravolleyball team will be seeking to orchestrate its performance when Kenya will be hosting the African Championship, which is slated for 1st to 10th July this year. The championship will also be used as a qualifier for the upcoming World Championship that will be held in October in the United States. Reporting for Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
And now to that story that has broken tonight, where renowned author, writer, Professor Ngugi wa Thiong'o has passed on, and this was announced by his daughter, that is Wanjiku Ngugi, on a post on her Facebook page. That was earlier Wednesday. And also part of what Wanjiku said is that the family spokesperson, that is Ndushu Ngugi, will announce the details of the celebrations of the life and times of the renowned professor. Ngugi wa Thiong'o was not just known and celebrated locally, but also internationally. He was known for his famous works, for his famous books, and also he was not just a writer of what the books that we knew, but also he was he did amongst others novels, plays, essays, and memoirs. And among his famous work include the Grain of Wheat, and also you remember the book The River Between. At the time of his passing, Ngugi was 87 years old. That is the much that we know as of now in regards to that. But as we continue getting more details, we'll continue relaying the same to you. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And now, before we close this live broadcast, I want to leave you with how day 1 of the Blue Economy Summit went down in Homa Bay County, and the implementation of the Blue Economy Blueprint will foster development in areas whose natural resources had for long lied untapped. Cabinet Secretary for Mining, Blue Economy and Maritime Affairs Hassan Joho said the locals in this region stand to benefit immensely when resources in their respective areas are harnessed and tapped. Details of this and more are here in the highlights of day 1 of the Blue Economy Summit in Homa Bay County. Take a look.
Wangu tu ni kusema nashukuru kuja hapa Homa Bay. This is not my first time hapa Homa Bay, and whatever our leaders wamesema na pia vile waziri atasema na gavana wetu, kazi yetu pamoja with our team, it's to make sure we make it happen. Hii blue economy is very key to Homa Bay people and the entire Lake region. Kwa hivyo, all the goods that will bring, all the facilities tutaleta Homa Bay, all the projects zinakuja Homa Bay under the leadership of Dr. William Ruto.
You understand the challenges that our people face. Kwa hivyo wakati neti inachukuliwa kwa mvuvi, labda anabaki bila chochote. Ile neti mbaya inachomwa. Lakini wewe umekumbuka ya kwamba badala tu ya kuchukua na kuchoma, umewaletea ile mzuri ambayo pia wanaweza kutumia badala ya ile ya kuchukua tu. Kwa hivyo hiyo pamoja na ile yote ingine ambayo umekuja nayo ambayo mimi siwezi zungumzia, tumeshukuru sana 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 sana.
Kwa sababu najisikia niko nyumbani. Si ndio? Sasa mimi nimemwambia gavana hapa, mimi niko na yeye sambamba wiki mzima hii tutakaa pamoja hapa. Na tuweze kuzungumza mambo ambayo yatasaidia watu wetu. And I keep saying, for these areas and others, we have to be deliberate about the actions we take. Kwa sababu watu wetu wamekaa nyuma siku nyingi sana. Kuja hapa. Nimemwambia gavana Nyasuna hapa mimi Homa Bay tutajenga landing site 3. Hapa Homa Bay. Alafu tunaweka mpango sahihi. Kaduma ameniuliza nikiwa kwa boat, are you procuring rescue boats? Nikamwambia of course tumeweka 300 million ya kupakua procure rescue boats. Na tumepatia contract Kenya shipyard. You know those things we would not have done them if we're not in government. Si ndio? Kwa sababu tuko ndani na mimi nawaambia mimi tuko ndani na hatutoki. Hatutoki. Kwa mara nyingine unakuta kwamba wametumia neti ambazo sio vizuri. Neti ambayo hairuhusiwi. Nimeona mimi kwamba kuna watu na inaeleweka wanachukua hizo neti. But my ufahamu wangu, my understanding is that as government we are here to help our people. Sindio? We cannot sit by when someone gets oppressed in one way or another, for one reason or any another. Sinamna hiyo? That's why today we came and we want to show it as an example. Even for our law enforcing agencies, ama our law enforcers. Tafadhali, ojua mtu akitoka nyumbani asubuhi na aende kwa ufuo wa bahari, jua ikiwa namna hii, inakupiga na unagangana na kutafuta maisha. You must understand kwamba hiyo sio luxury. Hiyo ni mtu kujitafutia maisha, kusomesha watoto wake, kupatia familia yake chakula. Na sisi majukumu yetu ni kusaidia wananchi. Si ndio?
Now having this blue economy and maritime conversation. 10 years ago, we never talked about it. In fact, just 4 years ago, nobody had a conversation about blue economy and maritime affairs. And it is broad. Some people would imagine really it's about fishing. It is not. It is about fishing, job creation, wealth creation, mobility, connectivity, opportunities. It is broad.
Say the earth without art would just be get it? We circumnavigate the globe and traverse the local scene to bring you art and culture at their very best.